First stint we did with speaking about the lighthouse in general and speaking about beta control. We start this stint now, speak about must anticipate new technologies, new expert for all the new technologies. I asked for assistance of an hour about the trends and about already in his speech speaking to introduce two systems, but on the other hand, you are a new colleague. You have joined about 2 years with building up the Center of Excellence for Artificial Intelligence. So I'm sure people are curious to learn more. What is Beta Systems doing with AI?
Definitely, yeah. Thank you for the AI and Data Science Competence Center here at Beta Systems in Berlin. And we mostly do all AI-related projects which might benefit our products in general. So we think about documentative AI by thinking about how we can analyze documents using natural language processing, by analyzing and forecasting trends in our data and matrices. So I would say everything related to AI can be a use case for us, and we definitely and continuously check if our use case we have in mind might benefit us and our customers and our products in general. And if we have such a solution in mind, we definitely will implement it. We don't have, I would say, like the one and only solution we are just working on. So we have a couple, dozens of projects we currently have in mind and always think about. So there's a lot to think and a lot to test for sure. And hopefully our customers will have access.
There are 80% mainframe supporters. So you here, I'm leaving a little bit of our standard script, but I know you're flexible because I hear if you read about the IBM is promoting the AI capability as well. So it's not just that we are anticipating AI for our products, we are also anticipating AI for the mainframe. Can you give, because I started with you, I learned a little bit about that, but I understood.
On the beginning, and everything we do to AI, we think about having it transferable and transformable to different architectures and to different operating systems. So yeah, for sure, we do training mostly of our AI system on Unix-based systems like Ubuntu and a similar one, but all of our AI solutions will be transferable to different architectures and into different frameworks. We mostly use ONNX for that one. It's a, I would say in the AI lingo, a pretty well-known framework to do so and to have it architecture independent. And for sure, we have also utilized our Talon processor, which we have in our mainframe here in-house in Berlin, to run AI systems. And definitely, whenever our customer has a server landscape of Ubuntu systems or Microsoft or in the cloud or on a mainframe, our systems will run independently on those systems too.
Very good. In order not to get too abstract, perhaps I know you brought some slides with you. Perhaps we go into real life. Let us get an idea. What are the projects? What are the thoughts we have for our products? What can we do with AI on your research?
Definitely. For this one, I will go over to our slides over here just to bring up 4 different use cases we have in mind and we currently think about. So in our slide deck, just 4 sneak previews. We definitely have a few more slides to show over here in the future also. In the first slide, on the first bullet point, we have document profiling. Document profiling is mostly think about every of our systems, every of our customer systems is generating data on a daily basis. We have like thousands of millions of documents which get created and which need to be archived or stored in some way. Most of those systems are manually trained or manually rules which then define how the document will be stored, how long, in which bucket, etc., etc. And we think about having here an AI to automate this process. So you definitely not have to tell all the manual rules, as I would say today or decades ago, but we will also be able to understand the semantic meaning of documents, to group them based on the semantic meaning and have our documentation systems. Or over here is privacy protection. We call it PII filter. PII acronym stands for Personal Identifiable Information. And you can imagine the following. The GDPR, the AI Act, and all the data privacy laws in Germany, Europe, and on the world in general enforce us to think about how to protect our data, our customers' data, and the data of each person individually. So I would say with traditional REST, all those static data which you can definitely find and scan with a static search pattern, it's already possible for today. What we think about is using AI, we can also find those information which are not quite good to find by a static search pattern. To give you 2 examples, I would say address, names, and similar informations are quite flexible, and there are even some words which have a different meaning when you think about the sentence in general, so the semantic meaning. If I say bank, it can be a river bank, it can be a park bank, it can be the financial institute. So we can definitely ensure that you are putting the value of privacy protection higher, makes the service and the data more secured and more protected, so benefit your customer definitely, and also have all this AI-based to find those information. The next one over here, workload forecasting. I would say from my time as a team leader, as a developer my own, I know from all the talks with our customers, the time where one customer, where one administrator at a customer site is responsible for one project or one system is over. Each administrator is today maintaining a lot of different projects and always need to keep in mind that all of those products and systems are running flawlessly. For that system, it is definitely a benefit and also a requirement to think about what will be the workload of the system and the scalability of the resource usage in the future. For that information, you can use your own mind, think about what are seasonal information or historical information where a workload will come to a bottleneck or something like that. But we can also utilize AI systems to predict the new or next seconds, minutes, days, or even years or decades to think about what will be the workload of the system to already predict maintenance or to predict bottlenecks which might occur in the future already today, and so give you the benefit of think about how the system will behave in the future. The next one, documentation, Shepard, I've already mentioned it slightly at the beginning. Our documentation is quite complex. I would say thousands of pages if you have multiple of our products. Each page has very high information, very good info, and even to maintain it. Anyway, even if those information are very valuable, it is quite hard to think about reading all of those pages whenever needed. And so what we are doing is we try to use and we are utilizing AI chatbots, which will give you a better access to our documentation in general, make it easier accessible, and give you all the information you need whenever it's time to. Yeah, and that's pretty much it about our current use cases. We think about AI in general.
That's thrilling, to be very honest. Let me drill a little bit deeper on this. So on the document process of documents, is that the primary use case? Are there any other option? I think AI is pretty flexible, probably in recognizing content, whatever. Are there any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. So what you can think about, we can, with our AI systems, transform any text. It can be a document, it can be an email, whatever. We can transform it into a high vector space. How you can imagine it like, imagine the room we're currently standing in, and we are putting all of those documents we have as little dots flying around us over here in the space in the room. What we then can do is we can identify clusters. So as an example, all the invoices we are receiving may be a little bit closer together and building up a cluster. Some information, some clouds of dots will be in another space of the room. And with those information, it's quite awesome, because what we can do then is we can see which clusters we have defined manually and also think about, are those clusters still up to date? Are they still state of the art? Are there maybe clusters which have some documents inside we wouldn't have expected because they should not be part in this workload over there, should be in a different cluster, so we can find it for classification and even for anomaly detection.
Very good. On the PII side, so I'm curious to learn more. Whenever new use cases come up, you will be invited again to give us an update on this. On the PII filter, PII, of course, everybody is cautious to listen to you, because data security and data privacy is one of the primary topics everybody is suffering if you are in the data center. How can you illustrate a little bit better? I have a data stream, and you already mentioned, so I don't ask you why AI, not why a standard segment, because it must be in the context. But which information is PAI and what do I do in this use case?
We think about, and we have dozens, like really dozens of different PII. For us, very interesting for sure, names, age, date of birth, IP address, MAC address, email address. So all those information which are, I would say, pretty near to be identified as PII. But what we also have in mind are like informations which are a little bit more technical. You have different authentication keys you will use on a daily basis. You may have some hashes in your browser which identify you as a specific user because those are unique keys. And we also try to identify those different keys in their meaning. And especially we have, I would say at the moment, round about 40 different classes we want to identify in the future. We currently just train on a subset of those information to have some starting point in general. And how you can imagine the system in the end, I mean, like, PII is sometimes needed. If you are the HR department and you need to see the information about a person's name, date of birth, and maybe some information about the salary, you will be able, based on your permission, to see it in the system. But the benefit of PII is we can live, while you're receiving the text, we can decide if this is a PII, check your permission, and then for a more dynamic use case, I would say, hide or show information based on your permission. Maybe one example for this one, if you are the HR department, as mentioned, you will be able to see the name, maybe the address, date of birth, information like that, but you won't be able to see the IP address. If you are the IT department, you can imagine like vice versa, you're not seeing the information about the name in general and the address, but you will be able to see maybe the username, so the technical name, the IP address, MAC address, etc.
That's really interesting. A question comes to my mind when you speak about these use cases. We had, I think it's 10 years ago or 15 years ago, that originally also because of data privacy law, GDPR in Germany, there was a new product idea born, which was the beta.z transform, which was masking information, but of course at this time without AI. So we have in our products features which are similar for that. Is your PII filter, is that a research topic of the Center of Excellence, or are you developing that already in collaboration with the teams? So are we going to see PII filters in the .z family in near future, or are we more speaking about general research, what you're doing?
Yeah, so at the moment, for sure, everything we are doing is at the beginning research. We think about each topic, how we can tackle it, how we can challenge it. But in the end, for sure, we want to have our products being live at the customer side. And I think about different use cases. It could be a feature in a product. So you can imagine like a Jack-Z or something similar, and it's just a feature inside. On the other side, I could imagine it also as a whole new product. I could imagine it like an API from the ground base. We are planning systems independent of the architecture in general. And so I would say we're building high-scale systems, try then to find most of the use cases for our products which will benefit them, and then in the end our customers, because we are working on a daily basis. I would say a back-end team which is just near as possible.
Assume that's what. Chatbot. I was for a second thinking, shall I do a joke that in the future AI will do the documentation, not just researching that? But I understand there is a use case you have not mentioned here, but we use internally in the development, not just in documentation, we use AI technologies, right? I remember that we have certain tools helping the internal development documentation. Perhaps you can spend also 1 or 2 sentences on this, how it helps us also to increase the quality of code for that.
Yeah, definitely. I would say AI-based coding, as an example, is a challenging topic in general. If you take a look in the media, you will have some persons which are hyping the topic in general and make it like, yeah, I would say it sounds like heaven, But on the other side, if you're looking for different media, that hey, it's garbage and that is not useful in general. What we have did is on our own, we have make a research phase. So we have took some developers of our different teams, we really mixed them up. We had some from the mainframe development, we have some from high-level programming languages like Java, AI-based coding assistants. So not the whole code is being done by AI, but the AI is trying to improve us, give us ideas, and hopefully we can benefit from it. What I can say, AI is not flawless at the moment, and yeah, we definitely have some errors and some improvements, and no, we cannot and we will not replace our developers and our technical teams by AI. But for sure, we hope and we see that we and our developers can benefit from the AI-given solutions, and that is also what we do from the AI department. We bring up also topics which are having a use case internally to speed up our developers, to speed up our different departments. We have also like systems which allow us to have transcription, like we can give in some videos or some live stream like this one over here, and then in the end have the transcripted text which has been spoken, to be able to have the text and be able to also process the text from our meetings, conversations, stuff like that whenever needed, and for sure when everyone have agreed based on privacy data law.
So interesting perspectives for the future. You just teased us to say, perhaps not today, but tomorrow. Can you give just briefly, I see the potential from the subject, the audience probably as well. Can you give us an outlook about future topics? What's on the roadmap, just briefly, because time is limited?
For sure. What I can just say is, we don't have a limit on what AI project we will do and what we will not do. For sure, we will always act in the range of what is allowed, what is the regulatory, what allows us the AI Act and the GDPR in general. But whenever our customer, and I especially to speak to you as our customer, whenever you have a use case, a feature, something you wish, which was not possible in the past, but you now see that it's possible with AI, I would definitely be a person to contact, or our company in general, and I would be very happy to get this information. What I can just say is definitely AI will have a big impact right now on natural language processing, on predictive maintenance, and I would say every feature, as mentioned, which was not possible right now because we need to understand the semantic meaning of text, of documents in general, will be now solvable with AI, and we will definitely tackle it whenever it serves our customer needs.
Kevin, thank you very much. As I said, unfortunately, and we will face this destiny in the next sessions as well, time is limited here today, but I'm very happy to have you in the team. You just in 20 minutes showed all your experience, all your knowledge, and how beta systems can benefit from this. So I'm looking forward for the next time we meet here and we are presenting the newest results. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you for having me with you.
Let's have more or less a short hard cut, turning to a different topic. Markus, welcome. As I introduced you, you are also one of the centers of excellence within Beta Systems, contributing to the product development. And we had just 3 sessions of the 2 days of Lighthouse launch days, but we mentioned, I think in every single of these sessions, we mentioned containers. So to me, perhaps we can wrap up because not everybody was joining. We will provide standard products as containerized versions in the future. So not just installer versions of, let's say, BetaView, where we started, but also other versions. Can you give us a short view on that? Is it just putting an installer in a box, or what else do we have to do in order to get there?
Okay. Right. Just short intro about myself. So I joined Beta Systems 3.5 years ago, I have to say. Yeah, even. And as Niels mentioned, so I'm responsible for the Cloud Center of Excellence and even supporting all the product and development teams to tackle more or less the challenges going into the hybrid cloud approach since years. And yeah, of course, getting back to the question, so is there a way, and what we are doing or preparing in the meantime to have, for instance, a beta view distribution as container image available? I have to say that there was a first step to do from our internal perspective to say how to more or less provide the container image. It's even not like a CD-ROM anymore, whatever, or there's just a web page where you can download an image. No, it isn't. There are some rules and regulatories in mind, which we have to make sure that you as customers can download an image from a really trustful source. And that was more or less things we have to think about it. What's the way of distribution? So, and there are a lot of container registries outside in the market. Some of them may know definitely, like Docker Hub or other competitors of that, where you, even in a role as developer, as user, whatever, can download pretty much images, container images, in an easy way. And that was exactly the thing we have to tackle, to say, hey, what's the best approach to make it easy and on one hand side for you to download the images, and plus the security topic to make sure that you have really a trustful source where you can download it. It means we are thinking about to provide our own container registry to the outside world. It means operated by beta systems, that was one thing, or even provide just a download link of an image in our customer portal where you as customers can download it. But we dropped the approach. There was some things to mention. At once, we have to automate all the deployment pipelines so that even the newest images are already available to you. And that's hard if you upload an image on a specific web server. That's not a good idea. So, and we dropped this even to make our own container registry operated by beta systems available. That brings us in a position that we even have to operate the registry surrounding and so on. And at the end, we come to the point, most of you as customers and in the outside world are using Docker Hub, and that's why we decided to provide our images currently from beta systems like the beta view via Docker Hub, where you can download it. So that's hopefully gives a short intro about what's the source.
Very good. And so let's speak about the current state. My understanding, my very limited understanding, is we are providing this container and it is prepared for a certain platform where to install. And this is the orchestration environment, so to say. Which of the orchestration environments are we focusing at the moment, and what might be plans for the future on this?
Right. So that's exactly the thing. You need something where you can more or less deploy your containers to let them run and getting up to run the software. And for that, of course, there are even different approaches possible. And what we also did in the team to have a look what are potential ways of orchestrating our containers. And at the end, we decided to go with Kubernetes, which was even formerly supported by Google. And there was a second thing in place that were even Docker Swarm to be used. But at the end, we go with Kubernetes. The reason why that was even building the bridges between even the hybrid cloud approach between mainframe and the outside world is the good thing when going with Kubernetes as orchestration platform. Once we more or less are compatible with this and we are testing it on that, in the same way it's pretty easy to even have a distribution for OpenShift. So that's even interesting for all the mainframe users to say, hey, we have a set environment in our local data center, and may you have already or you have planned to go into the containerization approach, and by using IBM hardware. So it's easy to have then an OpenShift cluster, which is completely, I would say, to 99% compatible with Kubernetes. It's based on the same source. And so that we can say, from our perspective, once we have more or less compiled a container image, we are testing it even on our own environments with Kubernetes, and in the future, I have to say, in parallel even with OpenShift, so that you can rely on these distributions, and for us it's easier to support in that way. And in addition to that, to go more deep, to have a proper deployment based on Kubernetes, for instance, we decided even to go and provide the so-called Helm charts, which are more or less the executables that the container in the pods gets deployed right. in a way that you as administrators haven't to do so much to get a container up and running. And these Helm charts, of course, they have to be signed by beta systems so that you can rely to say it's an official Helm chart made by beta systems and not somewhere else. It's a kind of security aspect. But that's pretty much the approach we're going into that. To make it really happen, from our internal perspective, there is a huge deployment pipeline in the meantime. So it's not only someone is uploading an image, that's pretty easy, but you have to imagine each day, each week, we are producing more or less new nightly builds, which could be potentially released, and that's what we are doing. There is an automated deployment pipeline in the background, which provides the images, and it's uploading it automatically into our test environments on the Kubernetes. We migrated also our test automation from the on-prem approach to the cloud approach to let the tests running, to really make sure that the distribution and the application inside the container, like Beta View, is running well, even in the container approach. So that's pretty much it in a short time compressed what we are doing, how to tackle the right container platform, the right orchestration platform.
Thank you very much, Markus. So for the audience, as a sign of relief, if you have not to 100% understood what Markus is talking about, don't worry, it's the same to us. We had a very steep learning curve at Beta Systems, and in fact, even if we don't fully understand what you said, I think it testifies how intensively we are addressing new technologies at Beta Systems, standing here 2024, speaking about Helm charts and Kubernetes environments. So it is something, I can tell you, you can learn that even if you come from the mainframe. And we will have a session a bit later where the Beta View team is speaking also about their experiences in bringing their product to a container. So I'm happy to have you with me because I couldn't pretend to have all the knowledge about these container technologies. But you mentioned a very important word, security. We take over responsibility for the container, which means that we are also taking over responsibility for the security and the integrity of that container. I can imagine this is not just done by installing our product in there. There are probably further mechanisms that we can ensure to our customers that the container we provide is safe. Can you illustrate for standard human beings what we have done and what we are doing to ensure this?
Right. At the end, it's pretty simple. It's like even normal software testing. Of course, looking for vulnerabilities. Given if you are even coding in Java, whatever, you have a lot of dependencies. You are using, I would say, open source libraries, whatever. And it could happen that once you use the open source library, it gets infected. There was a backdoor or whatever, and then it doesn't matter if you even provide software on demand or selling software, I don't know, via CD-ROM. At the end, you are responsible as a vendor to make sure to close these backdoors really fast to prevent attacks at the end, which runs into a data loss or whatever. And that's exactly the same approach for containerization. Means you have to know that we have different stacks there. Of course, you have the operating system layer compiled into the container image. On top, given or even on a sample of Beta View, you have the application server layer. In that case, it would be Wildfly application container. Plus on top, then it's our software, it's Beta View itself, which runs in the application container. And all of these three layers, we have to care to close all the backdoors at the end permanently. And that's the thing, so we care about even the Linux distribution, we care about the runtime for the deployables, and of course we care about our own software stack and the libraries. And it means we're doing dependency checkings, and that's only possible in today's world with automated checks. So there are watchdogs running on behalf, which scans more or less the libraries we are using. If there are new versions available, so that we get triggered, hey, this Java runtime version is more or less infected, please update. And that's then our approach to make it happen, to compile a new container image with the latest Java runtime inside, or even with the Wildfly distribution inside. That's exactly the way how to make sure that you get always a trusted and secure environment up and running when using our container distributions. So that's more or less the way how we are doing it, and how to tackle or how to make sure that it's not always safe and secure, but we're trying our best to provide you a really good, excellent software.
And just to summarize what the outcome for our customers in this container, what you're saying about our automated scans and things, we take care, not just that there are no malware installed in the container, but also we are taking care of the CVEs, of the vulnerabilities in our environment, because typically, of course, also in the installer version, we have to take care about CVEs coming from libraries in our product. But now we are entering next level, that we are also taking care of CVEs occurring in the installation environment, like application servers or other aspects like this.
Right, that's the thing, so, yeah.
Good news for customers who have one concern less probably in future, when they don't have to take care of updating the environmental systems. Container, I mentioned that in my initial presentation. To me, container is not automatically meaning the cloud. I think our data centers will turn more and more into container-based platforms and orchestration systems. But I mentioned several times the hybrid cloud coming together with a lighthouse generation. What are our plans for hybrid cloud worlds as part of the lighthouse generation? Can you disclose a little bit our roadmap? What will we do with regards to containerization, platform support in the next month, years, time being?
Sure, of course, yeah. There are a lot of ideas, even in our product and development departments, even to tackle the future of the mainframe, future of the hybrid cloud and or cloud native approach. And of course, we have prepared something. Even like now, part of the new generation is definitely a beta view as a container distribution. Even not sure. Definitely, you mentioned that there is the so-called S3 adapter. Which even builds more or less the bridge between the mainframe and I would say a data storage which is outside the mainframe. Maybe it's cheaper to have a local tape library which supports exactly the S3 protocol, where even you can more or less even shift over a lot of data even from your, I would say, local SSDs from the mainframe into in that case, write a S3 protocol to a specific tape library, or using, a hyperscaler's S3 storage, which is then in the cloud, and then you are exactly in this hybrid cloud approach. That's part of the new generation, and as well. We also have plans or ideas, or there was some request I definitely remember from one of you outside here. Is it also planned or possible to provide, for instance, beta view as a service? So that's a completely new topic to us, because normally we provide just software, but here in this approach, if you would provide beta view as a service, means we are operating it for you, and that could be a possible solution at the end, because beta docx as well as logx is running also in a non-mainframe environment, so could be definitely a possible approach. So whenever you are interested in that scenario, so we can provide you definitely a solution and offering to say, hey, let beta systems run with logx or docx as software as a service. There's another topic which was even in the discussion for the ones which I'm more or less not interested in containerization in general. Is it also possible to install or to provide a ready-made virtualized machine image with beta view? And I can say yes, we can do that. We played around with this. We have even internal distribution for that to let it run, for instance, in AWS as a so-called EC2 instance. So it's really made internally. Whenever there is a demand from your side to say you are using beta view and wants to abstract it as a machine image to operate it by your own, it's also possible. So that we have already tested internally, and just call us. We could provide a solution for that. So I have to look. There was the spoiler there. Right. There's another topic. Will be tackled even kind of the so-called logging observability approach. What's definitely planned is it's a new product. It's Log Now. Not sure if you spoiled it already. Not yet. Okay.
Briefly mentioned,
okay.
but not really explained.
Okay. That's more or less there was more or less even a demand from your side to say, hey, let's have a centralized logging platform which covers mainframe as well the non-mainframe world. So it means there is a centralized system which grabs all log files from all systems which you have in your entire data center, or when you're using software as a service products in parallel in your complete enterprise setup, there will be a solution from our side to collect all the log files. Plus, for instance, also job logs in the so-called VLR approach, and that's definitely planned. And we had a prototype or MVP presented this summer at our hot event in Munich, and there was a high demand. I would say that was really great to get your feedbacks to say, hey, you're on the right way, and we are on it. We will provide a new version in Q1 next year. So that's what runs in parallel in our hybrid cloud approach and strategy, and fits exactly in our topics.
Thank you, Marcus. I think we made the second step in our interview here before the first, because before I have to calm down the product managers, there are no precise plans for Beta View as a service, software as a service, or for Beta LogX. And I understand, yes, Log Now, the product, we don't have a session, unfortunately, in the 2 days here, but we will clearly stay tuned and look to the website. There will be webinars coming from the product management team about Log Now as a product idea in the next month. And the product, as you said, was designed from the beginning as a cloud-native application that, of course, considers software as a service operation from its beginning. But it's not that we are just planning to do SaaS. My understanding is we have already offerings about SaaS, if not in the DCI classic areas, so to say, but within the DCI and Beta Systems world, we do have SaaS offerings. And I didn't introduce you like this, but you're not just Mr. Container, you're also Mr. SaaS. So you can tell us perhaps in a couple of sentences, what are we offering today and what does it help?
Right, so currently there's even a SaaS offering made by the product called Automate Now, which you can definitely have as a software as a service to orchestrate your workloads, your job workloads. That's still existing, and what I spoiled before, that is definitely the new product, the Log Now product. That's designed as software as a service, so that you can also more or less obtain it via marketplaces, pay as you go at the end to have a proper solution in place. And my colleague Kevin, who had even the session some minutes before, he also mentioned the topic PII filtering. So that's exactly a thing which we more or less we're straight ahead to tackle it down, to more or less to make it happen and make it available as an own service. That means our plannings are to provide this service as software as a service, so that you can consume more or less the offering. You just bring in your own documents via an API, and our Gen AI is more or less caring about the filtering, and you get back the result at the end, the result set, and that's also a new approach there, and even I would say plan for Q1 next year. We will have our first version out in the market. So that's another product where we are completely, I would say, in the cloud world, in the software as a service industry.
That's a statement. That's a promise. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I could speak for another 3/4 of an hour about cloud and containers. I think we learned a lot. At least I learned a lot over the past 2 years of Lighthouse. I wasn't a container guy. I wasn't a cloud guy. So thanks very much for teaching all of us about what's going on in the cloud. Being happy to have you in the team for contributing to our existing products to make them available for hybrid cloud scenarios. And looking forward to your next visit where you're going to present us new stories from the cloud.
Sure, we will do so.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Take care. Bye-bye.